Lauren didn't raise her voice when she said she could replace me in a day. That's what made it feel like a verdict, not a threat. Saturday mornings used to feel earned. Coffee, eggs, the window cracked open like the house could breathe. Now it felt like an evaluation with a soundtrack. I stood at the stove, flipping bacon, keeping the movements calm and automatic. The same way I kept the rest of my life calm. Like if I stayed steady enough, the ground wouldn't shift under me. Lauren sat at the kitchen island in one of my old hoodies. Legs crossed, phone in her hand. Scroll. Pause. Scroll. Her face didn't move much. She wasn't reading. She was hunting for something to disapprove of. "The trash is still full," she said without looking up. "I'll take it out after I eat." A small exhale through her nose, like I'd disappointed her on purpose. "You said that yesterday." I didn't turn. I didn't give her the satisfaction of watching me react. "And I did." "You did it late," she said. "I had to smell it." I set the spatula down, one hand on the counter, just breathing. Her voice had that clean, casual tone she used when she wanted the criticism to sound reasonable. Like she was doing me a favor by improving me. I slid eggs into the pan. "Do you want breakfast or do you want to run a checklist?" She looked up then, finally, and smiled like I'd made a weak joke. "I want you to stop acting like everything is an attack." "I'm not." "You are," she said. "And it's exhausting." There it was. The word she always used, exhausting, like I was a job she hated but needed to keep for appearances. She tapped her phone screen, then glanced around the kitchen like she owned the air. "Also, the garage is a mess. Again. And Derek texted you last night. Why are you always volunteering for other people's stuff when you can't handle basic things here?" I kept my eyes on the eggs. "It was one text. Everything's one with you," she said. "One text. One chore. One promise. Meanwhile, I'm managing my life." I turned then. Not fast. Not sharp. Just enough to let her see my face and not find a crack in it. "Lauren," I said. "What are we doing right now?" She leaned back, phone still in her hand like a judge with a gavel. "I'm telling you the truth, since nobody else will." I nodded once. "Okay." She watched me like she expected a flare-up. She wanted the fight. She wanted me loud so she could label me and win. Instead, I went back to the stove, plated the food, and set one plate down in front of her. She didn't touch it. Her eyes stayed on me, and her voice dropped into something calm and final. "You know I could replace you in a day." The sentence didn't sound like an insult. It landed like a measurement, like she'd done the math and I didn't qualify. I stood there with the second plate in my hands. The kitchen was quiet except for the faint sizzle dying in the pan. In that second, something in me didn't break. It stopped. I set my plate down across from her, sat, and picked up my fork. Lauren blinked, waiting for the part where I begged her to take it back. I didn't. I chewed slowly, eyes level, letting the stillness do what anger couldn't. Because now I understand the game, and I was done playing it on her terms. Lauren left the kitchen like she'd won something. Not with a slam, not with shouting, just a smooth push off the stool, a glance at her phone, and a walk down the hall like I was furniture. Like the sentence she dropped was normal. Like it wasn't meant to cut, it was meant to train. I sat alone with two plates on the table. Hers untouched. Mine is half gone. The old version of me would have followed. I tried to fix the tone, offered a truce, said the right words so the day could keep moving. Instead, I finished eating. I rinsed my plate, set it in the dishwasher, and stood at the sink for a second longer than necessary. Water running. Mind quiet. That stillness from the kitchen hadn't left. It had settled in heavy and useful. In the living room, I heard her footsteps upstairs. A drawer. A cabinet. The soft sounds of a person who believed she had complete control of the house and everyone in it. I dried my hands and walked into the office. It wasn't my office, technically. It was our home workspace, decorated the way Lauren liked it. Neutral art, clean surfaces, little trays that made everything look curated. Even my desk felt temporary, like I was borrowing it. I opened my laptop. First thing, Derek. He'd sent a message late Friday, simple as always. Need an extra set of hands for the community bike workshop Sunday. You in? In the past, I would have checked the shared calendar first. I would have thought about whether Lauren had plans. I would have braced for the conversation where she'd decide if my time belonged to me or not. I didn't do any of that. I typed, "Yeah, I'm in. Tell me what time." Hit send. It was a small act. No dramatic speech. No announcement. But it carried weight because it was the first decision I'd made in a long time without asking permission like a kid. Next, the calendar. Lauren loved that calendar. Color-coded blocks. Reminders. Social events placed like commitments to a higher authority. If it wasn't on the calendar, it wasn't real. If it was on the calendar, it belonged to her. I opened the calendar app on my phone and stared at it like it was a leash I'd been wearing because it felt normal. Then I went into settings. Export. Sync. Permissions. I moved the shared calendar access off my phone and onto my laptop. Still accessible, still visible, but no longer living in my pocket like a control device. On my laptop, it was something I could check when I chose to. On my phone, there was something that checked me. I removed notifications, disabled pop-ups, turned off the constant buzzing that told me where I was supposed to be, who I was supposed to impress, what version of myself I was supposed to play. The silence that followed was immediate. No pings, no gentle tyrant tugging at my attention. Just me, my time, my choices. I leaned back in the chair and let that settle. Not as rebellion, as a correction. A door opened upstairs. Lauren's voice floated down the hallway, talking into her phone. Bright, polished, light laughter she never seemed to have for me anymore. I didn't listen long. I stood, grabbed my keys from the bowl by the door, and took the trash out. Not because she said so, because it was my house too. When I came back in, my phone buzzed. "Derek, perfect. 10 a.m. Appreciate you, man." I stared at the message for a second, then set the phone down without that old reflex to check the calendar and ask myself what Lauren would think. Control doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's just a man quietly deciding he's done being scheduled, managed, and spoken to like he's replaceable. Upstairs, Lauren laughed again. I didn't go up there. I didn't chase. I didn't try to win back warmth from someone who'd already decided I was a slot that could be filled. I just went into the garage, picked up a box of tools, and started organizing them the way I wanted. Slow, deliberate, steady. Not to impress her. To remind myself I still knew what order felt like when I built it. By Thursday, Lauren had thawed, just enough to start giving instructions again. She didn't apologize. She didn't circle back to the kitchen line. She just moved forward like the past weekend was a minor weather event that I should be over. "We have the fundraiser tonight," she said while adjusting her earrings in the hallway mirror. "Downtown, 7 sharp. Don't be late." I watched her reflection instead of her face. The dress was expensive, fitted, chosen for impact. Hair perfect, makeup clean. She looked like the version of herself she saved for rooms that mattered. "What's the dress code?" I asked. She blinked like the question was beneath her. "Just look presentable. Presentable. Not good. Not handsome. Just compliant." I went anyway, not because she deserved it, because I still believed showing up was what a grown man did, until I had a real reason not to. The venue was one of those downtown spaces with exposed brick, warm lighting, and music loud enough to stop real conversations. Lauren's company logo was everywhere. Staff in matching shirts moved like it was a campaign event. Lauren wasn't looking for me when I walked in. She was already surrounded. 2 coworkers, a manager type, and Sabrina Collins holding court with a champagne flute like she'd been born with it. Lauren's smile snapped onto her face when she spotted me. It was quick and practiced, like switching on a ring light. "Hey," she said, air-kissing my cheek. "Not for me, for them. This is my husband," she announced to the little circle, and the tone hit me wrong. Not pride, not warmth. More like she was introducing a safe accessory. Sabrina looked me up and down with a polished grin. "So you're the famous one," she said. "Lauren talks about you like you're very dependable." Dependable. Another word that meant useful. I held her gaze. I try to be. Sabrina's smile sharpened. That's adorable. Lauren needs a strong support system. Her job is intense. Not everyone can keep up. Lauren laughed like it was charming, like it wasn't a small public correction wrapped in humor. And there it was again, the scoreboard. Not just in our kitchen. Not just at home. Here too. Under lights, among people who didn't know me, while my wife stood beside me and let me be measured out loud. I watched Lauren's eyes flick across the group, checking reactions, managing the scene. I wasn't her partner in that room. I was part of her image, a prop that proved she had a life outside her title. And standing there, hearing the way they spoke about me with her permission, I felt the last of my old confusion drain out. This wasn't a rough patch. This was a role, and I wasn't going to play it forever. Sabrina didn't stop. She warmed up. She told a story about high-achieving women and how some men get intimidated. And every time she said men, she glanced at me like she was checking if I'd flinch. Her friends laughed on cue. Lauren smiled the way you smile when you're protecting your social position. I didn't give Sabrina anything. No defensive jokes. No forced grin. Lauren leaned closer to me at one point, voice low through her teeth. Can you not look so serious? You're making it weird. I kept my eyes on Sabrina. I'm fine. You're not, Lauren said. Just play nice. Play nice. Like I was a kid she'd brought to an adult table. Sabrina lifted her glass again. Honestly, Lauren, I don't know how you do it. Work, networking, running the household, having to manage everything. One of the guys chuckled. Some people need managing. Lauren laughed. Not loud, not mean, just enough to tell the room she agreed with the premise. That was the moment, not the words, the laugh, the way she joined them. My pulse stayed steady. My face didn't change, but something else inside me clicked into place. I wasn't angry. I was finished. Sabrina pivoted toward me, still smiling. So what do you do again? Besides being Lauren's rock. I nodded once, slow. I'm not here to be anyone's rock. Her brows lifted. Oh, I glanced at Lauren. If you want a stage, pick another actor. Lauren's smile faltered. It was quick, but I saw it, the shock of me not staying on script. Her hand found my arm, nails light but firm. Don't, she whispered. Not here. I looked down at her hand like it didn't belong there, then back up, calm. I'm not arguing. I'm leaving. Lauren's eyes widened. You can't just. Yes, I said quietly. I can. The host's voice boomed over the speakers. All right, everyone. We're taking photos by the backdrop. People started shifting, gathering, fixing their posture. Lauren's group moved with them automatically, like cattle trained by sound cues. Lauren tightened her grip on my arm. Just stand with me for 2 minutes, she hissed, forcing a smile at someone walking by. Don't embarrass me. I didn't pull away hard. I just slid my arm free like it was easy because it was. I'm not embarrassing you, I said. You're embarrassed I won't perform. For a second, she looked like she might explode. But she couldn't. Not in front of them. Not with her image hanging in the air. So she did what she always did. She went cold. Fine, she said, eyes flat. Go. I nodded like I'd been given permission, even though we both knew I didn't need it. I walked past the photo backdrop, past the sponsor banners, past the cluster of laughing coworkers. Nobody tried to stop me. A few people watched, confused, like a prop had wandered off set. Outside, the night air hit my face clean and sharp. I didn't rush. I didn't stomp. I didn't slam doors. I just walked to my car, got in, and started the engine. Stillness is louder than arguing. And when I pulled out into the street, I felt something rare and solid settle in my chest. Self-respect. Quiet. Unnegotiable. Lauren came home after midnight. I heard the front door open and close with controlled force. Quiet enough to pretend it wasn't anger. Loud enough to announce it anyway. Heels clicked across the hardwood like punctuation. I stayed on the couch with the TV off. A glass of water on the table. No pacing. No rehearsed speech. Just waiting. because I knew she'd want the scene and I wanted to see what she chose without help from my emotions. She walked into the living room still dressed for the fundraiser, lipstick untouched, eyes sharp. She looked at me like I'd ruined something expensive. "You embarrassed me," she said. I didn't move. "No." She let out a short laugh, the kind that wasn't humor. "You left. In front of everyone." "I did. Do you understand how that looks?" she snapped. "My boss was there. Sabrina's clients were there. People talk." "That's the problem," I said. "You live like people talking is the point." Her jaw tightened. "Don't turn this around." "I'm not turning anything," I said evenly. "I'm telling you what it is." She walked closer, stopping in front of me like she expected me to stand up and explain myself. When I didn't, she stayed standing, towering, trying to use posture as authority. "You couldn't just suck it up for one night?" she said. "You couldn't just be supportive?" I looked up at her, calm. Supportive of what? Being insulted? Being introduced like I'm your accessory? Her eyes flashed. "Nobody insulted you. Sabrina did," I said. "And you laughed." Lauren rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Sabrina jokes. That's her personality." "And your personality," I said, "is letting it happen." That landed. I saw it in her face, the flicker of something like guilt that she immediately crushed into contempt. "You're being sensitive," she said, voice turning icy. "God, it's always something with you lately." I nodded once like I'd expected that exact script. "There it is." "What?" "The reframing," I said. "You don't address what happened. You label me sensitive, difficult, exhausting, anything but the truth." Lauren crossed her arms. "The truth is you acted like a child. The truth is you treat me like a prop," I said. "At home, it's chores and grading. In public, it's smiles and control. You don't talk to me like I'm your husband. You talk to me like I'm hired to help you resent." Her face tightened, but her voice stayed controlled. "That's insane." "No," I said. "It's accurate." She stared at me, trying to bait me into raising my voice, trying to force the kind of argument where she could point and say, "See, this is why." I didn't give it to her. Lauren stepped closer. "You're going to apologize to me." It wasn't a request. It was a command dressed up as marital expectation. I held her gaze. "No." She blinked hard. "Excuse me?" "I'm not apologizing for leaving a room where I was being handled," I said. "If you want a husband, act like you respect one." Her mouth opened like she couldn't believe I'd said it. Then she snapped it shut and laughed again. Sharp. "You're not going to threaten me," she said. "You don't have that kind of leverage." I felt the old instinct to argue, prove my value, list my contributions, remind her of all the things I did. I let it die in my throat. "Lauren," I said, voice low and steady, "I'm not threatening you. I'm informing you." Her eyes narrowed. "Of what?" "That I'm done chasing your approval," I said. "Done racing your scoreboard. Done auditioning for a role you think you can replace in a day." The kitchen line hung between us like smoke. For the first time, she didn't have a quick comeback. She just stared, angry and calculating, like she was deciding which version of herself would work best. Then she did what she always did when control slipped. She retreated. "Whatever," she said, turning away. "Sleep on the couch if you're going to be like this." She walked upstairs without another word, leaving contempt behind her like a trail. The old me would have followed. Knocked on the bedroom door. I tried to resolve it. Tried to earn peace by surrendering. I didn't move. I took a slow breath, stared at the dark TV screen, and felt something solid settle into place. Not pain. Clarity. Because I finally understood. Chasing was the role she expected me to play, and I was done being predictable. Sunday morning didn't ask anything from me. No calendar ping. No tone to manage. No invisible checklist waiting to be failed. I left the house before Lauren came downstairs. Not as a statement, just as a fact. I grabbed my coffee, my jacket, and the small toolbox I kept in the garage. The one I'd started organizing for myself, not for her approval. Derek's workshop was set up in the community center parking lot. Folding tables, bike stands, a hand-painted sign that said free repairs in uneven letters. Kids rolled in on bikes that sounded like they'd been through war. Parents hovered, hopeful but cautious, like they were used to being turned away. Derek spotted me and grinned. There he is. I nodded. Morning. He tossed me a pair of gloves. We've got a line already. Chains, brakes, the usual. I stepped into it like it was muscle memory. Tools in hand. Problems that made sense. A squeaky derailleur. A loose handlebar. A kid's bike seat that kept sliding down no matter how tight his dad swore he'd made it. Hold it right there, I told the kid, adjusting the clamp. Now sit. He sat. The seat didn't move. His eyes went wide. Whoa, I smirked. Yeah, magic. He rode off smiling like I'd handed him a new life. Derek leaned over. You all right? He asked quietly, not prying, just checking. I didn't give him the full story. I didn't need to. I'm good, I said. Better here. He nodded like he understood more than I'd said. Around noon, a woman walked up carrying a paper bag and a small cooler. Casual jeans, hair tied back. No makeup, trying to sell anything. She looked like she'd come from real life, not a stage. Hey, she said to Derek. I brought sandwiches. Figured you guys forgot to eat again. Derek laughed. Megan, you're a saint. Don't start, she said, smiling. Then her eyes landed on me. You must be the extra hands. Yeah, I said. Don't tell me. She cut in lightly. Let me guess. You're the guy who actually reads instructions before he breaks something. I chuckled once. Surprised me. Sometimes. She set the bag down and started handing out food like it was normal, like people helping each other was normal. No scorekeeping. No edge. No hidden test. We ate standing up, leaning against a table while Derek worked on a bike behind us. Megan glanced at my hands. Grease in the lines of my fingers. A small cut on my knuckle. You do this a lot? Not lately, I said. But I used to. It's straightforward. She nodded like she got it. Straightforward is underrated. That hit harder than it should have because it was true. I watched a dad thank Derek 3 times for fixing his daughter's brakes. I watched a kid pedal off, yelling back, "It works now!" Like he couldn't believe adults actually came through. Nobody was grading me. Nobody was trying to control my face, my tone, my timing. The contrast was so sharp it almost stung. Because this grease, sun, kids laughing, simple gratitude felt like peace. Not the fragile kind you negotiate for. The real kind that exists when you're not being managed. Derek clapped me on the shoulder. Good work today. I nodded. Yeah. And standing there, with my hands dirty and my head clear, I realized something I hadn't let myself admit yet. Respect isn't loud, but you feel it immediately when it's there. And when it's not, you stop pretending. Lauren's text came in Monday morning, long enough that my phone preview cut it off mid-sentence. It started with, I've been thinking, and kept going like a carefully arranged bouquet. Soft words, regret-shaped, tied up with a ribbon of reason. She wrote that she'd been stressed, that the fundraiser had been a lot, that she didn't mean the replace you line the way it sounded, that she missed us, that she wanted to reset. It read like an apology, but it moved like a strategy. No mention of Sabrina, no mention of laughing, no mention of the pattern. Just a neat little package meant to slide me back into position. I didn't reply with emotion. I replied with logistics. Lunch today, 1 p.m. My office. A pause. Then, okay. When she walked in, she looked different. Not casual. Not defensive. Composed. Hair done. Neutral dress. The kind of outfit that said I'm reasonable before she opened her mouth. My assistant buzzed her in and Lauren stepped into my office with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Hi, she said, soft. I stood, shook her hand, formal enough to make the point without saying it, then sat back down. I didn't offer the couch. I didn't offer comfort. I offered a chair across the desk. She hesitated for half a second, then took it. This is intense, she said with a small laugh. It's lunch, I said. Talk. Lauren blinked, then smoothed her tone into something careful. I'm sorry about what I said. I waited. She added, the replace you thing. I shouldn't have said it. Why did you say it? I asked. Her eyes flicked away for a fraction of a second. I was upset. You've been distant. So you tried to put me in my place, I said. Her mouth tightened. No. I was trying to make you understand how serious I was about needing support. I nodded like I was noting a detail in a report. Support doesn't sound like replacement. Lauren leaned forward slightly, hands together, voice gentler. I know. I messed up. And I'm sorry. Can we move past it? There it was, move past it. The phrase people use when they want the consequences erased without doing the work. I didn't bite. What about the fundraiser? I asked. She exhaled. That was just awkward. Sabrina mocking me was awkward, I said. Laughing was a choice. Lauren's eyes sharpened, but she kept the smile pinned on. You're reading too much into it. No, I said. I'm reading exactly what happened. She sat back, the softness thinning. So what do you want from me? A public apology? Some grand gesture? I held her gaze. I want respect, not performance. Lauren's jaw worked like she was chewing on irritation. I do respect you. Then stop treating me like I need to earn a spot in my own marriage, I said. She shifted tactics, smooth, quick. Okay, fine. We can do better. But we still have the Collins dinner this week, and your face can't look like you hate everyone. It reflects on us. There it was again. Optics, image, control. I leaned back. I'm not going. Her eyes widened. What? I'm finished pretending, I said plainly. You can go. You can smile. You can manage your audience. I'm not being used as proof of life anymore. Lauren's voice tightened. So you're punishing me. I'm protecting myself, I said. She stared, then let out a breath that sounded almost like disbelief. You're being dramatic. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue with the label. I just ended the discussion. Anything else? I asked. That made her go still. Her eyes searched my face for the old cracks. Fear, guilt, the need to fix. She didn't find them. Lunch ended with polite silence and a forced "we'll talk later" from her, like a threat dressed as normal. When she left, I didn't feel victorious. I felt clean. That night, I walked into the guest room and turned on the light. Lauren was upstairs, door closed, like a queen in her tower. I opened the closet and pulled out an empty suitcase. Then I started moving essentials, work clothes, toiletries, chargers, simple items that used to live scattered through the house like I belonged everywhere. Now I packed them like the truth. One drawer at a time. No slamming. No speeches. Just separation. A man doesn't always announce the moment he stops complying. Sometimes he just moves rooms. And the house feels different immediately. Sabrina's birthday dinner was at one of those places that thinks dim lighting counts as personality. Black walls. Loud music. Servers in pressed shirts moving like they were late to something better. Lauren met me in the parking lot like we were fine. She kissed my cheek before we walked in. Just long enough for anyone watching to believe the story she needed them to believe. I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. Kept it clean. 90 minutes, I said as we walked. My car. My clock. Her eyes narrowed. Can you not do this right now? I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm stating terms. Inside, Sabrina was already holding court at a long table. The whole group turned when we approached. Smiles sharpened. Eyes measured. Lauren slid into her role like she'd been waiting all week to put the costume back on. There you are, Sabrina said, standing to hug Lauren first. Then she turned to me, arms open like a joke. And you came too. Brave. I took her hand instead of the hug. One shake. Firm. Neutral. Happy birthday. She laughed like I'd failed her test on purpose. Oh, we're formal now. Dinner stayed polite at first. Forced laughter. Work gossip. People talking over each other like the noise proved their lives were important. Lauren kept touching my arm at the right moments. Little cues for the table. Look, he's still here. I didn't drink. I didn't overtalk. I kept my focus on the plate and the clock. Then the dessert came out. Candlelight. Phones lifted. Sabrina stood. Champagne flute raised. And the table quieted like she'd rehearsed it. She smiled at Lauren, then looked straight at me. You know, Sabrina said, voice bright and sweet, I love watching strong women thrive. And honestly, a woman can replace her man any day. Silence hit the table like a dropped weight. Lauren's lips pressed together. She didn't correct it. She didn't defend me. She just waited, watching to see what I'd do. I set my napkin down slowly. I looked at Sabrina, then at Lauren, then back to the room. Peace isn't something you replace, I said calm. And applause isn't love. A few faces shifted. Someone coughed. Someone looked away. I checked my watch. That's 90 minutes. Lauren's eyes widened, the mask cracking. Don't. I stood, picked up my jacket. No anger. No scene. I'm not sitting here while my marriage becomes entertainment, I said. Then I walked out. Steady, quiet, final. Leaving them with the kind of silence you can't laugh off. On Monday, I texted her one line. Movers are coming Saturday. Don't be home. No emojis. No explanation. Just a fact. She called 3 times. I didn't answer. By Wednesday, she showed up at my office with a cake box big enough to make a statement. She walked in smiling like she'd solved a problem. Surprise, she said, loud enough for the front desk to hear. I brought something for your team. I thought we could reset. My coworkers glanced up, polite, confused. Lauren's eyes flicked over them like she was placing the scene, like she could wrap an ending in sugar and make it look clean. I stepped out into the hall with her, closed the door behind me. You can't do this here, I said. Her smile tightened. Do what? Be nice. This, I said, holding her gaze. Image management. Her face hardened. So you're really doing this? Yes. She tried the soft voice. We can fix it. No, I said. There isn't an us to fix. There's what you wanted, control, and what I'm choosing now. I handed her a folder. No drama. No shaking hands. Divorce papers were filed. I said. You'll hear from my attorney. Please don't come here again. For a second, she looked like she might cry. Then her eyes sharpened because tears were never her first weapon. They were a backup plan. You're overreacting, she whispered. I leaned in just enough to make it private. You told me I was replaceable. I believed you, so I replaced the situation. She didn't have a line for that. The divorce was clean because I kept it that way. Numbers, equity, accounts, a business closure with signatures instead of handshakes. She tried to stall, tried to reframe. I tried to talk about memories like they were currency. I didn't argue. I didn't relive. I just moved forward. Months later, the late-night texts started. The, I miss you. The, can we talk? Then the doorstep attempt. Eyes glossy, voice soft, acting like the whole thing had been a misunderstanding. I didn't let her in. I said, Go home, Lauren. Please, she whispered. I shook my head once. There's no more access. And that was it. Life got quieter. Better quiet. Bike repairs with Derek. Runs by the lake. Porch coffee that didn't taste like tension. A neighborhood barbecue where I met Claire Bennett. Grounded, direct, asking real questions like she wasn't auditioning me for a role. One night, Lauren texted again. I stared at the screen, felt nothing sharp, nothing hot, just certainty. I blocked her number. Peace isn't a mood. It's proof you stopped performing.